Hello, everybody. Life Coach Scott G here with another audio, and this is about toxic relationships or signs of toxicity. Certainly worth taking a look at there. And if you are dealing with that, certainly get a team of people around you, counselor, coach, minister, or other faith based person if you're so inclined, and a team of people around you so that you can engage in recovery practices as quickly and efficiently as possible. What are some signs of toxic relationship behavior or the development of toxic patterns? The first is they won't give you time to yourself. So, monopolization of time creates levels of dependency. Emotional dependency is a way that a manipulative person takes control of a relationship. What happens is they love bomb you into the belief that you are dependent upon them because you begin to slowly isolate away from the people in your life who aren't part of the relationship. And they will be extremely critical of the people who you are involved with that don't necessarily like them or that they don't think of as someone they can manipulate. Understand that a toxic person is a manipulative person and a person who doesn't necessarily see that they can integrate with other people, be balanced, and maintain healthy boundaries while still creating relationships with you and others. The manipulation of time usually is a self-esteem related challenge, which is then projected onto the victim so that the controlling person or toxic person looks like the hero in the situation and gets a lot of praise, but also creates that relationship of dependency. The next part of that is they don't care, nor do they honor your boundaries. So if you say, hey, I can't hang out today, they're going to try and use either guilt or manipulation or create histrionic levels of, challenge or difficulty, which ultimately then leads to that you feeling guilty and doing exactly what you wanted them to do in the first place. All of this under the guise of really needing you and wanting you. So, in the love bombing way, they're making you feel good about changing your schedule when in reality they're just dishonoring your boundaries. So, it's important to have your boundaries set before you enter a relationship and know that there are certain boundaries that you're willing to bend, but other boundaries that you're not willing to bend under any circumstance. Because if you don't have those, ultimately what then begins to happen is you become more and more negatively impacted in the long run, and ultimately that leads to a lot of challenges. Jealousy becomes another major problem for people that engage in toxic behavioral patterns. This is because they want your complete attention and they don't want to have to compete for it. So anyone that's going to bring them into a level of competition for your attention, for your time, for your affection, for your compliments, for anything to do with related to positive interactions they can have with you is immediately going to become an enemy, is immediately going to become a person they don't want to deal with, and is also immediately going to become a person that they are hypercritical of. Notice that they only have compliments to give to people they can either control or be better than. So everything either becomes an opportunity to control or an opportunity to compete and win. That ultimately then leads to the reason behind the behavior in the first place, which is their level of fear at feeling unimportant, insignificant, or otherwise negatively impacted when they don't have access to complete attention. When called out upon this behavior, though, the toxic or narcissistic person will never take complete responsibility. They'll always have an excuse, a rationalization, a reason behind the behavior, and they will begin to understand only the effects of what is coming about as it relates to how it affects them. They're not necessarily interested in how it affects others, and taking responsibility makes them look weak. Remember that someone with a toxic behavioral pattern is most interested in how they look to others and looking as strong as they possibly can without ever having to make changes that force growth in directions they don't want to go or growth in directions that are uncomfortable for them in general. Realize that breaking away from this type of behavior requires for the toxic person to actually want to change, and they're not going to change for you. They have to change for themselves. Now, you can bring something to light, but generally speaking, those behavioral patterns exist for a long time related to the challenges in childhood, challenges in belief systems, and ultimately, very rarely do they change unless the person takes personal accountability and responsibility for the desire to make the changes for themselves. We can be inspirational in that direction, but we can't make the changes for them, nor can we love someone into the desire to change. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.